Process excellence implementation options. Option 1. Send people to training and ask them to change. Little is actually learned and applied, may results in pockets of improvement only, difficult to sustain improvements and efforts over time. Option 2. Form Kaizen or rapid improvement teams. Will provide benefits, but may be tough to sustain. Sends the message that process excellence only happens if you're on a team. Option 3. Change expectations and job designs. Require each process owner to learn and use process excellence concepts. Replace existing non-value-added work time with process excellence tool use time. This provides the greatest probability for sustained success. This visual summarizes the 3 most common approaches that are used to put high-performance work practices in place. While the numbers don't exist to prove it, my experience has shown me that most organizations try to use the first approach because it seems to be the easiest. In fact, this approach is the most common one used in any type of improvement effort. Simply sending people to training and asking them to change, however, will only result in pockets of excellence at best, and in the worst cases, it only fuels a flavor of the month mentality. With option 2, a smaller percentage of companies try to use the Kaizen or rapid improvement team approach. This approach will provide returns in those areas where effective teamwork occurs, but it also may send the message, albeit indirectly, that thinking excellence is something that we only do when we're on a formal Kaizen or improvement team. This approach, in most cases, fails to ingrain high-performance work practices in all areas of the organization and in all employees. In other words, only a select group of key people and processes are affected, not all of them. To me, process excellence practices are reflective of common sense, smart management in other words. They should be part of everyone's job, and all leaders should be expected to improve those processes they are personally responsible for on a daily basis. This is the perspective that the high-performance organizations have. Unfortunately, only a small percentage of organizations take this approach. Changing job descriptions, how leaders are measured, how performance is reviewed, and how all of our daily work processes are designed and executed seems like too much work. Choosing the easy way out itself has its own drawbacks, though. Frustrated internal and external customers, wasted time and money, and little sustained success. How fast you go, however, is largely determined by the approach you choose to use. When should a team be used? Not all projects require a formal team. Projects can be largely individual efforts, with interviews being used to learn from subject matter experts. You can involve others without using a formal team. Investing time in learning from others is often a better form of engagement than going to a meeting room. A team should be used when you need to 1. Increase ownership in the project's development, 2. Use the project as an opportunity to teach others, and 3. You need to get a lot done in a short amount of time. A given organization can only effectively support so many teams. They have a limited number of good team leaders, jobs are designed to only allow so much time for team-based work, and simply put, some projects don't require the use of a full-time team to get them implemented. That said, all too many organizations form way too many teams, many more than they can effectively support. After doing so, they often find themselves wondering, why aren't our teams getting their projects and improvements in place more quickly? I've listed the 3 main reasons for using a team in this graphic. I've also stated earlier in the book, however, that there are ways that a lot of people can be consistently involved in process improvement efforts without requiring them to go sit in a meeting room for an hour each week. You can get ideas and opinions from people by going to their workplace, spending time with them, and simply asking questions. You can bring them into a meeting room once a month for a general feedback meeting. You can design an easy-to-use app for collecting key process improvement idea details from any customer. It actually does not make sense to always follow the traditional team paradigm of forming a team and meeting weekly as a group until the project is done. Be agile, be flexible, be innovative. The solution to breaking this paradigm involves asking the question, what is the purpose of the team meeting? This is where most of the waste occurs. We bring people together and then waste their time doing round-robin report outs or having one person read information to the rest of the group. Both of these types of involvement could have been accomplished offline using a well-designed intranet site or even email or text attachments. The true purpose for getting together should be to have dialogue about problems or possible ideas, to learn more from collectively sharing our thoughts as a group. A high percentage of project work is often individual in nature, collecting data, doing spreadsheet analysis, and creating project plans, for example. Don't meet if you don't plan on involving a very high percentage of the attendees on a very frequent basis as part of the event. Create a common pool of ideas. What are the advantages of using a common pool of ideas? How can people contribute ideas to the idea pool? Which group should have access to the idea pool? In this example, an Excel spreadsheet was used to capture the possible improvement ideas that existed for this production group. Please note that this is simply an example. The actual list was much longer and included both projects that had been assigned to a hold status for future development and projects that were considered but dropped for one reason or another. This example is provided in its existing form to help you better visualize the types of features that such a database would have if you chose to use this approach in your workplace or organization. How do you capture the possible improvement ideas for each process? In a high-performance workplace, every process owner can produce such a list for both the projects that have not been considered or completed yet, as well as those that have. A central database is used to keep all possible improvements together for the site or organization. This in turn enables the leaders to more effectively allocate limited resources and to serve as a vehicle for letting each employee know what is being worked on or scheduled for future development. Process-specific lists are posted in each group's work area. Each workgroup member knows how to get an idea added to the list if they think of one, and they also recognize that they will have to do more than simply suggest an idea. In most cases, they are also expected to identify which performance areas will be impacted, how the idea meshes with the organization's strategies, and what type of ballpark costs are involved. This can all be accomplished quickly with drop-down menu use. They are also often expected to participate in the idea's development, should it be selected for implementation. Another key feature of this example is the % complete column. By using this column, leaders and team members can compare project lists over time and observe the degree of projects that is being made. This simple addition to the table can go a long way toward demonstrating project development skill proficiency and project leader accountability. Use a formal idea triage process. There are a variety of types of decision matrices out there. One of the decision-making approaches that I really like is the Kempner-Trago Must and Wants table, because it requires you to separate your project selection criteria into musts and wants. Plus, it also requires you to weight the wants. I encourage you to do an internet search and explore the different approaches that exist for deciding which projects should be worked on first. Don't waste energy debating which decision matrix approach to use. Instead, use this energy to make the decision to use such a tool instead of relying solely on opinion. Unfortunately, most companies still rely on the opinions of their managers when it comes to deciding which items on the list need to be worked on first. In the above example, 14 possible projects are listed. Most decision matrices are structured this way. The rows are used to list the projects that are under consideration. In this example, the bulk of the columns represent what I like to call increase-decrease objectives. These are the things that we should always be trying to either increase or decrease over a daily basis in our organizations. For example, we want to always decrease accident frequencies, product waste, or customer complaints. We're always trying to improve employee morale, customer satisfaction levels, or profit margins. Each project is scored as to the impact that it is projected to have against each of the increase-decrease objectives. A weighting factor that ranges between 1 for low or no impact and 5 for high impact is used for this purpose. After you've scored each project against each objective, you can total up the scores. It's not recommended that you automatically go with the projects that receive the highest score. You should still use your best judgment, reach consensus as a team. This approach, or one similar to it, does, however, significantly reduce the potential damage of relying on opinion alone. How do you pick your projects? Would you benefit from using a decision matrix?